that and lock in something a little bit more utility. But Tristana also up on the table, very, very impactful. Those are the kind of picks that we're looking towards. They completely ignore me. It's going to be that Ezreal. Yeah.
Yeah. You get the versatility of either mid or bot. You can play around with that here early. But yeah, very surprised that they're willing. Because couldn't you just literally lock in Trist Ashe here?
I mean, that'd be pretty good. I mean,
I feel like, right?
Ezreal can deal with the Ashe somewhat, but at the end of the day, the Ashe still gets the push, still gets to be able to control that lane. So for me, that would be quite valuable. They could also go for the first string of AP junglers now if they wanted. You could go towards the Karthus. Now that the Zyra and the Brand are out, there are different options here.
Well, these have been the names of the game for these supports. Anything that has a hook or has any kind of engage, and it's going to be the Nautilus locked in there for Jwei.
So that's just very consistent. Have been noticing a lot with stuff like the Nautilus is that you end up being quite good in laning phase a lot of the time. Well, I mean, you could just lock in, a Braum or something like this now and just end that laning phase because Nautilus hates that champion. But yeah, it does kind of feel like Nautilus is very, very squishy later into the game, and you can struggle to reach some of these backline carries like the Ezreal and the Corki. So for me, Nautilus, while it was just such an insanely powerful pick throughout all of spring, and then, well, not all of spring, but like the back half of spring and then also into summer as well, I think it is becoming more second string now behind stuff like the Rel and Leona. Surprised to see it locked in so easily. And we did say that, a number of the top tier AP junglers are off the table. Lilia comes in. What Lilia offers that Karthus doesn't is engage, so that works out quite well given that you have the Ezreal and the Corki, which provide absolutely none of that by themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're also going back to the niche of what these junglers feel comfortable with. Fast clearing, AP style. We'll see them utilize that in a lot of setup potential for TT in that regard. But talk about setup. Those enchanted crystal arrows are going to be cold, cold, cold.
So, Rare Adam, they don't have themselves any magic damage right now. I think TT, they are eyeing up something like a Cassante or maybe the Skada, even though it's been nerfed, because going full AD into the hyper tanks of top lane right now just feels so bad. They're also probably looking at a big engage support for someone like Feather, which is why the Alistar is being taken off the table. Wouldn't surprise me to see the Rel removed as well. I think that would be able to really just limit a lot of TT's engage options. And that means you have to look for it from top lane, and then things get a little bit more awkward for TT's draft beyond that.
I do wonder which one takes priority, the Leona or the Rel. I feel like both fairly viable options there in some regard for
it really does take a feat of skill to pick a champion that's banned.
It really does. It really does. The Sejuani is actually the focus right now to take away some of that that engage that could be a little easier to pull off for Xiaohao.
I'm surprised that TT are banning away that, because the Rare Adam, again, they don't really have that. Well, they don't have any magic damage right now. They could look in something like the Mordekaiser or the Kennen, I guess. Xiaoxu has been one of the few Kennen players that we've seen within the LPL, and they're just removing some of those engage things. And that is the Rel, but the Leona's already banned, so yeah. That means, what do we get out of Feather now? What does he get? Does he have to just go towards the Braum?
Blitzcrank.
Hey, I mean, it is Feather. Can absolutely do that.
I'm here for it. I actually think that okay, so the Italy ban. All right, I was gonna say I really do think maybe taking away some more engage junglers would be really big, but they go for the straight up carry jungle, targeting Xiaohao there.
I mean,
Italy ban.
so Milky Way is the only jungler that has played the Diana so far. As it stands, it does tick the boxes. You want engage, you want magic damage somewhere. Diana brings both of those things. Now, good luck reaching the Ezreal and the Corki from that kind of range, but I think this can potentially be very, very powerful if you had one last piece of the puzzle to help pin targets in place or help them kind of like remove some of that defensive ability early. As we said, most of the engaged supports are further off the table. You can just deny Nautilus's laning phase by just clicking Braum, because Nautilus never wants to hook into that. But this still means that TT very lacking on engage right now. They do have decent range. They have the Ezreal, they have the Corki, and they even have the Lilia for poke too. They are going to struggle when it comes to bigger team fights, though, to get those clean team fights.
It's going to be a lot about moving around the team fights. I really like this Cassante a lot more for TT. I think the Braum enables the bot lane so heavily that you have to kind of now play around that to some extent. The Cassante provides a lot more safety in the side lane as well, but also some of that late game entrance into the fights for Hoya.
So, Xiaoxu, do you just want to take a big counter matchup out there? Because, let's be honest, I don't think that I don't really think you want to be going tank for tank against the K'Sante right now. I think K'Sante is just kind of better than all of the others at that kind of moment. The Camille can struggle. I was listening to Nymeara on the cast just yesterday, and he was talking about the Camille K'Sante matchup, saying, look, Camille needs about an item and a bit, really, before things really start going the Camille's way. Xiaoxu is a notable carry player. He was very, very strong. Even throughout last year as well, in this kind of matchup where you're not against like the top teams. When it came to mid-table versus mid-table, I really feel like Xiaoxu started to shine against its opposing numbers. I love what RRA have now done. They have an extra engaged threat for the top side in terms of pick potential from that Camille. You're going to jump on someone with arrows, with hooks, and then the Diana Camille can also either follow up or start plays on their own. And I think there is so much follow that even a very slippery Ezreal cannot escape all of this. So, TT, they don't have themselves the best team fight in terms of engages. They do have damage, they do have range. It's going to be hard to play out. On the other side, I need to see this pick combo work out well.
I'm so interested in this like super pick combo here. I think they do have some nice team fighting wombo combos, but it really is about trying to catch people before those objectives, catch people in the in-between and falling through the cracks. Whereas for TT, you're looking for those team fights, baby. You want to get to those 5-on-5s. There's a lot of sustained damage for them as well, and some poke to help pepper in before moving for those ones. So we're getting kicked off with game number 1 here. It's a couple teams that maybe had a rough time of it in the placements, but here we are in Group Nirvana. See who takes their step forward. Game number 1 between ThunderTalk Gaming and Rare Adam, kicking off now in Shanghai. Now, we said getting into it, it's all about where these jungles want to go early, where they're going to be facilitating their carries, and also looking at this bot lane and how active they can be. I think 1xN and Assum taking the center stage here.
We're going to get ourselves into Jwei. I like to leave some room for them. Can't hear them right now. So, pretty early in the day, of course. First game of the day, and maybe they'll wake up a little bit later. One of the great things about the Nirvana group is that we, in very fitting to the name, at least for me of Western music sensibilities, we get ourselves a bit of a mosh pit in these kind of games because they're a lot closer. We have a lot of teams which are scrappy down here in Nirvana group, and it's not just kind of like one of our top 3 teams like BLG, JDG, Top Esports, and of course we even saw Anyone's Legend kind of just dumpstering a lot of the teams below them because they do feel like they are a level above right now. I say that TT did take a game off of JDG, so they kind of bucked the trend slightly in regards to that. But still, seeing these two teams against each other, I'm really, really interested to see how our groups start stacking up because we saw them in these individual pockets of 4 or 5 teams. We haven't seen them outside of that bracket so far.
That's the most interesting thing. I think everything has been building up to seeing a lot of these teams go head-to-head. The groups did end up being a little bit one-sided in the end, as I think everybody kind of foresaw. But now we get kind of the actual head-to-head matchup. Also, congratulations to Ucal. 200 games in the LPL. It's actually pretty huge, but...
we have a lot of games here. I didn't expect it to be that many games already, though. Ucal,
that's crazy.
I mean, Ucal to me, this guy has had such a history. He's not necessarily referred to as, one of the all-time great mid laners, but he had periods when he was up there with the best in the world. And I really feel like in the LPL, he has had some fantastic moments. Like I said, last year, I would have viewed him as a top 5 mid within LPL on a team that was barely top 10, which is an incredible achievement. I hope he gets to regain that form. He's had a bit of a difficult summer, but I love watching this guy. I love the joy he looks like he has on stage, and he also has really cool hair. So everything's working here.
And I think that opens up a little bit of a broader conversation with TT because for majority members, like this has been a project they've been working on, right? Like Feather a little bit newer to the edition, but everybody else has been here for over a year, right? And so it has been a track of progress that maybe isn't exactly what you'd expect from a team that sticks together for so long, but it has been a team that is never counted out, it feels like a lot of the time.
They really showed that at the end of Group Stage 2. They didn't have a great first round of Robins. Feather's going to jump forwards. This is the great thing about the Braum. If Ezreal lands a W... Because the thing is, like, Ezreal normally sits there and goes, well, I can't really jump forwards. There's a Nautilus. You absolutely can there, but he doesn't have his Arcane Shift up just now. Hits that WQ, though. The Essence Flux doing a decent amount of damage. And you can see that, yeah, the Braum just really makes Nautilus's laning phase not that easy to play out.
Vicla going to go for the heavy trade on Ucal there, maybe looking for a little bit of priority in mid lane. Now that Scuttle Crab is going to be taken, though, by Beichuan, will be seeding this side of the map for RA.
Yeah, so you can just see that. Both junglers path towards bot side, but with a good trade or two from 1xN and Feather, that's going to be bot side Scuttle Crab taken over there. Hoya very much then going to be playing towards the weak side. Beichuan doesn't really want to go up towards that lane. I mean, I guess if you do get yourself a moment at level 6, maybe around the time just before Grubs spawn, you can look for a play there. We sometimes see junglers going towards that. Speaking of that, of course, Grubs going to be up in the next 2 minutes, so we're going to get Dragon spawning the next one, then Grubs just after that point. Typically, we see one team kind of like trading one side of the map before the other. I like that trade there from Hoya. He manages to cancel out the second part of that hookshot. But yeah, I want to see whether Beichuan finds himself an inroad in towards that top side, because if Camille isn't shut down in this laning phase, they become a bit of an issue.
Yeah, side lane's not going to be fun, especially when you've got some follow-up from a global CC ulti. Also, it's a question I want to ask here is, you were talking about the kind of pick potential for RA, and I was talking about the in-betweens, but is that a style you think needs to be proactive around the objectives early to give yourself that leeway of decision-making?
Does kind of depend on comp when it comes to like just the overall philosophy of it. We've seen some teams play around. Of course, when you have the Ashe Braum, you get the Ashe arrow into the Braum passive, and then the huge CC chain is basically going to kill anyone, even in a team fight setting. I think when you have the Ashe arrow into the Nautilus hook, it's fairly similar, but it can be a little harder to work around because, weirdly, Braum has a lot of damage if you end up hitting everything on the same target. I think in this kind of comp, when you have so much follow-up, if you hit the right target, I think you can still play it around team fights. But that means you really need to look at someone like the Lilia before she gets something like a Zhonya's, which I'd imagine you want to get in this kind of game, maybe as around third item. And I think that if you can hit the Corki, the Ezreal as well, then you can take out a lot of damage from TT. But outside of that, yeah, you probably do want to do that before. That's a hook, man. Nautilus, man. But yeah, before, if it's not going to be as easy to find those targets, yeah, you really do just want to get that vision control and play things around the back end of a team fight. That's a flash out of Ucal. Didn't quite see Xiaohao around the corner.
It's a really good preemptive flash there, because if he does, he's literally dead.
Yeah.
He's going to get Buster shot right back to the tower there. TT were the ones that started up. The Grubbies already going to take 2 of those. Meanwhile, RA going to try to kind of contest, at least, for this third one. Going to try to smite this one away. Secured. Vicla getting claps on a little bit by Ucal. Look who's here, though. Jwei going for the flash play. Dread slide in. And we're looking at first blood here. Ucal is down. You got the reset city for Vicla. And he's going to town now. You got a nice little trade back from Hoya.
Oh!
Big hit from the Winter's Bite from Feather. And now Hoya is using these concussive blows maybe to try to fight it back, but won't end up continuing. Ends up being a 2 for 2 in our first heavy trade.
Man, Feather just smacks him out of the sky! He starts jumping away as Vicla gets caught down by the Braum Q at the end of it, so it ends up somehow being an even trade. An extra grub goes over to the side of TT, but you can see the danger of exactly what we were talking before this. If you do find your angle onto one of the carries in the backline, then the damage comes through really, really quickly. It can be harder to find that later into the game, but Ucal had blown his flash beforehand. It's a great hook. The Camille comes in on a great timing as well beyond that point. And we're seeing the great scrappy nature that we can see from both of these teams. Hoya manages to clean up here. And I love this, man. Hits him out of the air with the cube. Mid-jump. That's great. I love that.
Incredible stuff. We're seeing that scrappiness on full display early here. I do think we're going to see a little bit of movement down towards bot side here with both junglers pathing down that way for this dragon.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen in regards to level 6s being available, because Vicla's about to get his Buster shot back up, which means he's got some more kill lanes available to him. Assum has himself that arrow. That's the big thing which I'm watching, particularly because TT, they know they just went towards top side pretty heavily. That means they haven't got themselves many wards in bot side. If you don't have wards in bot side, you don't see the arrow that will kill you. That's a big issue. So if Assum manages to get himself an arrow from out of Fog of War, I think that will spell a 1 skirmish for the side of RA. TT, they might be slower to head towards here. They just need to walk up as a unit safely, not to give those easy angles of attack.
And we didn't too much talk about scaling. We came beat around the bush around it, but TT definitely have some strength in waiting the game out, getting a lot of the poke to be actually very, very strong, right? The 2-3 item spikes there. So maybe just giving and conceding some of this early pressure to a team that has those easy go buttons could be good. But as we expect in this group and in this series, we're going to fight over everything.
Yeah, I can see that, I love that, man. Assum, he's down in bot side. I was just wondering where he was because I just saw the Fog of War toggle, and of course he was down there on the minimap in the bot lane, which means that TT don't have to worry about that Ash arrow coming out of the ether and killing someone. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to the dreaded scaling question, which is such a hard question to answer so much, you have to ask about a lot of different ways. I think in the team fights, RA have a lot of wombo, but they need to hit the right combos. Can Assum hit himself a big arrow here? They are hanging around. Vicla's on the flank. Vicla,
they have not seen him, although they did see him walk out. Though Beichuan takes the dragon. They're in for the tussle and in for a pound here. That big engage, but it's going to be on the side. Vicla getting the resets from the rocket jumps. He's flashing for it, and Vicla showing off with a triple kill.
We did say that RA, they have themselves great ability to kill off those carries if you get there. 3-man Diana ult, Vicla with 3 kills at the end of it too, and RA start absolutely shredding through this early game. The first fight wasn't necessarily favored one way or the other. This one certainly was. We've now got a Tristana ahead of the game, and this is exactly how you want things to happen. RA really, really good around playing around the flank so far in the first couple of plays. The big Diana ult into the front line locks people up, gives Vicla a chance to free hit. No one is targeting this Tristana. Gets the flash over the wall and potentially could have given himself even another one after that point before that, using the blast gun to get himself away. Now you have issues. Vicla has himself 4 kills already.
Yeah. The go buttons, that kind of jump forward composition. I mean, both of your tools that do that are strong now, and they're going to even catch Ucal out yet again in mid lane, not going to follow through too heavily. But yeah, I mean, these moonfalls are going to be so difficult to navigate now.
Xiaohao, he is very, very strong. So, if Xiaohao can get himself a big multi-man ult, things are going to get painful. TT still going to get themselves 5 grubs. There's going to be no contest there from Assum, which does mean that you potentially can see TT claw their way back into... I say claw my way back into it. It's less than 1,000 gold. It's not that bad, but still... the fact that Vicla is so far ahead, Ucal can maybe even up at least that individual play by using multiple grubs on the sideline turrets, which is exactly what they're doing right now, getting some gold into their carries. If you can accelerate 1xN to his 2-item spike, maybe that's what gives you the ability to fight a bit better. Here comes the arrow.
They will not allow you, my friend. They will continuously find the engages on you in the side lanes if they can, and Xiaohao will claim his 2nd kill of the game.
The side lane play for Rare Adam is really scary. Xiaohao was wondering if he could catch out an Ezreal in the river, and he couldn't quite manage to do so, but Assum great accuracy from him yet again. I believe that's 2 for 2 on arrows fired so far. 1 in the bot river, 1 in top side as well. If that continues, TT will need to be very, very afraid of the next time that arrow comes back up.
I just think Ash is a heck of a champion right now. Well, now we'll see, though, a move with the TP topside. Thank you to the observers there to shout that one out, as they're trying to make the collapse. Hoya with the deep play here under turret. That is a very tanky squad, though, to deal with. See if he wants to just commit to it. Beichuan going to go for the lilting lullaby. That one just hits onto Jwei, but he still gets the dredge line in the middle of sleeping. The man is just sleepwalking on my screen right now. He does CC him down, but will go down, and 2 kills quickly fall into the laps of TT.
Also, even getting the Diana flash, Xiaohao ulted there too. I think it's a bit of a panic ult. So Rare Adam, as soon as they make a good play on a side lane, they end up falling down to one as well. Xiaoxu gets himself an empty lane in bot side, but then it's going to be in medium teleport back from Ucal. So Hoya teleported from bot lane to top side. Ucal evens up the lanes just beyond this point. But in the midst of this as well, TT also get themselves those turret plates, is what they get after this play. Beichuan gets himself asleep. It's not the biggest Lily roll in the world. Don't even get the extra damage coming in after that point, but it's enough. The CC's there, and you can see that, you know, Xiaohao doesn't really get himself anything valuable out of that play. They do get themselves 2 kills. They get themselves that flash and the tower afterwards.
And we got the double Trinity Force completed for Ucal and 1xN, so at least getting a little bit on the way.
Yesterday there was a game, I can't remember which series it was in, but there was a triple Trinity Force completion. So we had the Triforce, which that was great. That was very satisfying to watch.
Honestly, TT, one of you sell your items and buy Trinity Force. I need it.
Yeah, Triforce Cassante. Yeah,
okay, so
that
technically, Nymeara, we're men of science. Xiaoxu has a Trinity Force. So
okay, so there are 3.
There's 3 of them on the map. All right.
So we've got like a Triforce Civil War. One of them's on one team, so he's on the other. I mean, absolutely.
That's a little bit of a one-sided Civil War there. It's 2 versus 1. Like, this is not fair.
I don't know. I think later into the game, the Camille makes a good argument to be able to 1v2 those carries. We saw some fantastic games out of Ala yesterday in regards to that. And Camille has become a bit more of an LPL staple. A lot of our top laners going back towards this pick. And it does mean that side laning becomes much more of an option. We've seen the Gnar, we talked about that at the start of the day, but the Camille really gives you that split push threat. And you know, we were talking about the team fights and the scaling and in regards to what it means for both these teams. I think also when it comes to quote-unquote scaling, you have to think about what it means in multiple forms of play. That Camille on side lanes is absolutely disgusting once you reach 2 items. So I want to see if Rare Adam can unlock that as well. TT weren't great at dealing with side lanes in groups, but maybe they have to be forced to deal so today.
Well, we saw there, Rift Herald did get taken by RA as TT had moved a lot of their bodies down towards bot side. A lot of plates have been taken also, so a lot of gold in the pockets of these 2 teams. It looks like we're going to get a tussle over this dragon, potentially.
So, do we have any flank teleport wards for Rare Atom? Wouldn't matter, they don't have teleports anyway. Okay, so that one's checked off.
Checklist down?
Checklist down, yeah, we're so good here, meta science. Gonna have TT, gonna be just shoving in the mid lane, making sure that RA don't have an easy Herald drop angle. They do have the range advantage as well. If they can hold RA to a lane, that helps them a lot to fire off extra skill shots. Go back towards the Dragon, RA do bring up that Herald, but they're not looking for an engage. Dragon for potentially mid tower.
Gonna try to drive this one in. Get a little bit of an awkward angle.
The engage Herald!
It's just
the engage Herald!
Engage! Jwei goes for the massive Herald engage. As the Moonfall goes, it's not gonna really connect on anybody there. Xiaoxu is able to get Hoya down. Now Vicla with the resets moving forward. Somebody else gonna drive this time? Nobody's gonna get a charge. And that was the most wonky Rift Herald play I've seen in a while.
You can't use the charge again. You have to kill a tower to get that back up. So Ari say, yeah, we're gonna use it aggressively. Use it as an engage tool. What that means is they get the 1 kill, but does it really get them that much? They don't get the chunk onto mid lane out of turret, which is not great. Breaking that mid lane out of turret is so important in pretty much every game of League of Legends. I can't believe we have seen so much intricate driving here. We've seen, like, we've had everything from Fast and Furious to, like, you know, Taxi Driver. I believe this one's more like monster truck racing if we go for, like, big battles.
I like it. It's like doing one of those, like, front flips in a monster truck. That's what I imagine Jwei just did.
Well, I need to see next time. I need to see a video edit of like the Battle Herald, but with like the Warthog run from Halo, as you're like jumping over everything.
Please.
Fantastic splatter spree or something like that. So you get the whole lineup.
Love that. We are getting really close to second items for Ucal and 1xN now, as well as we're seeing a little bit of that poke really come to fruition here for TT. Do you feel like their kind of stability around these objectives is going to be stronger now, also that they've gotten themselves 2 dragons?
Yeah, absolutely, because you don't have to stick onto that dragon. It's almost like, you know, the answer to this, Mazel. I love questions like this. Yeah, because you're getting to the point now where you're going to get double tier completed very, very soon. That means your poke's going to be much stronger. The Muramana's going to proc on the Corky Rockets and, of course, on the Ezreal Q as well. And you don't have to all in for a Baron, for a Dragon Steel or something like that. Maybe it gets a little bit different around the dragon itself. That's an arrow going onto the side lane, and it hits!
He stepped into it. That feels so bad. They don't really have follow-up, though, and Vicla's just going to take the turret with it.
So Ucal survives. He needs to Valkyrie away, and will do. All right, they open up both side lanes now. TT, they're going to do the same with Hoya on that bot side. With 5 grubs, that tower will be falling, and I don't think anyone's going to be teleporting to defend that turret. So, all right, get themselves a tower on the side lane, if not that kill. They still don't have themselves this mid lane out of turret, though, and that's going to get harder and harder to remove because, I mean, Ezreal's very fine just wave clearing with both his ults and his Qs as well. So, alright, that's the next big thing for them. Can they get a big enough fight to get themselves the mid lane turret? If that happens, I think this game gets much easier for them, because that's when the range and the poke and everything else we've talked about gets less stable.
gosh, I'm still seeing some of the kind of contests of areas here because we're seeing RA move down towards the spot side, try to get some vision down here. But again, there's really no objectives on the map, so they are trying to see if they can catch anybody overextending. And I gotta say, Assum at this point needs to get like a sniper costume or something. This man has been on point, and it's something we talked about from the draft as being an incredibly crucial point to RA's gameplay.
Do you remember? Did you play Halo Reach? You could, if we're gonna go with that, we could just get the Jun skin, just give him like that little like
True,
camo,
that was a banger skin.
It was really cool. One of the armor designs of that game were really fun. All the same, I don't think he's missed a single one yet. We were keeping track of it. I might have missed one, but I feel like he's hit every single one so far. I'm an easily distracted person when there's cool plays happening on the screen. But one thing which is helping with that is you were mentioning RA contesting over different areas of the map, getting vision control. I mean, that directly helps the Ashe, because if the arrow comes out of Fog of War, so if we see these arrows on full spectator, it looks cool, but it is not the same shock value as whatever happens on the other screen. If it is coming out of Fog of War, it's really dangerous. We're getting to the point now where a single arrow could potentially determine the game, legitimately. If you get a big kill onto Ucal, 1xN has cleanse, Beichuan has himself the Zhonya's, it's harder to kill them, but if you hit the right target or force them, maybe Beichuan to Zhonya's in the wrong place, that could potentially lead to a Dragon or a Baron, which could flip the game.
Now we're actually seeing the culmination of RA moving all their bodies down towards bot side because we're going to have a Dragon in about 35 seconds. We're still away from third item for Vicla, but I feel like he is the saving grace right now. Now 2 items for Xiaoxu completed as well. Big thing is those Miramanas going to be very close, at least for both of them. Ucal's already gotten his.
Yeah, so we got one with the Manamune, one with the Muramana. 1xN really wants that upgrade before the next big fight. Dragon coming up in 20 seconds. I don't think he might just... Yeah, he'll get it midway through this fight, as long as he hits one more Q. Also, I mean, they will sack up a little bit over time, so he'll get that before that next fight. RA, can they get themselves a big fight? Currently, Vicla going towards top side, trying to take himself a tower instead. Doesn't have the grub buff, though, so can't full kill the turret.
Hindsight's 2020. Wish you had your grubs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure to eat your grubs, kids. It's like eating crust on bread.
Got to make sure all of those nutrients go the right way. So, RA have themselves vision pocket again. Assume on vision. Watch whenever Ashe goes out of vision. Those arrows become so much more deadly when you don't see that wind-up animation.
They get the flash out immediately because they don't want to get followed up on. True shot barrage across 3 there, ringing in the ears. Xiaoxu goes in. There's the Hextech ultimatum. The ultimatum's been set. Big 3-man moonfall. He goes golden immediately, so he buys all that time, and now Vicla's off to reset city again. You got to get that man a season pass to it because he's there every single day. The Mountain Dragon will go over, and RA have taken control.
RA, they survive the first pick coming through from that sleep, and then they re-engage. They get themselves the Dragon, they get themselves some kills, and we're getting to the point now where TT, if they start losing these objective fights, are getting really, really worried, because if they're not winning the objective fights, they're certainly not winning in the side lanes either. Xiaohao does get tagged up by the Lily Roll, but that's it. They get the flash out of that. Really good counter engage. I think Jwei's timing of the engage here is fantastic, because he knows he will blow his flash, but it saves Xiaohao's HP bar in his life, which means he can go for the big 3-man ult again. The Diana, it isn't just an AP carry, it's an engaged threat as well. I love that RA kind of reconsidered this team fight on the fly at multiple points, forced TT into an awkward retreat after that ultimate came through, and they ran away with it.
And Xiaohao and Vicla are having a hell of a game here. Like, it's actually incredible to see some of these micro moves in these fights. It's not only the holistic approach to them, but we're getting some serious mechanics out of these guys today. It's a pleasure to watch. 3 items now completed for Vicla. He has the Bloodthirster.
Absolutely. You know, the big thing is that he's now going to be even harder to kill with that Bloodthirster. How do you get through that overshield? Maybe you can get that first pick onto him, but it's so hard to get towards Vicla the longer range he gets. And also, one thing we need to mention too, as we go into Game 2 beyond this point, he could also potentially play this Tristana again. No more Fearless drafts. We're talking about how that maybe favors TT, but I think for Vicla, getting multiple Tristana games, which he's looked so powerful on, maybe that's going to be a bit of a feather in their cap.
A ticket to ride, if you will. I'm sure they'll be very happy if they can get their hands on that one again.
All aboard the Vicla public transport system. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, it's called the Big Vicla.
I've heard that one before.
It's a classic. Chantakusa are immediately cleansed out of. Vicla still wanted to go for it, even if they got the Summoner spells already. They will try to siege down, but they are getting a bit of a collapse from Ucal. Xiaoxu is on the other flank, though.
Good damage check there from 1xn on the other side. Have talked about how TT have often relied on this AD carry to be their big carry. I think he's doing fine damage still. It's just much harder to get that onto one target, one key target, consistently in the way that other more traditional AD carries can do. If you can get good damage out, maybe that can break open a fight. It needs to happen before his whole teammates kind of started fleeing already from the 2-3 item Camille that will be coming up shortly. Xiaohao with the Lich Bane and the Zhonya's is also going to be a real pain to deal with too. If 1xn can get good damage down though, I think TT can still very much win fights. The game's not out of proportion just yet.
Yeah, and especially that this composition that we were saying gets so strong on 3 items is getting very close to that here for Ucal and 1xn. The setup's always there. Get a big sleep. Beichuan can make the difference. It's all about the entrances, and that's the strength that RA have, especially when they're ahead, is their composition is always just looking to catch you out.
And, they're going to do that a lot more easily when they are pushing in these side lanes so heavily. TT, not necessarily the best team at dealing with side lanes in the group stage. It does feel like this game, they are just kind of just soaking up pressure in them. There's not really that many plays for them to make around it, so it's not necessarily that skill set which is being tested. But RA, very, very happy to use their own side laning. And 2 very mobile, high damage solo laners to make a big impact in these team fights. Another entrance towards this mid lane, but can they finally take this? They don't have the grub, so the bomb onto it might just do the trick. No, not quite.
Explosive charge, not going to be enough just there. They didn't want to overextend for it. Assum does have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to go with if he wants to pull the trigger on it. Not going to go for it anytime soon. They can't get any catch-outs just yet. And that brings me to a moment that I get to talk about, because I said something earlier that's been like kind of just ringing in my brain over and over again. An amusement park called Reset City, League of Legends themed, and it's just all the reset champions. All the rides are just reset champions.
Do you think we could do you think we could get like a parody movie as well?
I think absolutely.
Resets in the city.
Plushies?
Could you imagine?
We're going multimedia here.
Could you imagine resets in the city? I think that'd be great.
Oh no, I don't know. Is that the TV show? Is that like the late night TV show?
No, it's like, okay, there was a movie. Look, you know what? I'll tell you when you're older.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sparing me at least.
All right, Dragon's over 30 seconds. We've got big item breakpoints. 3 items for Ucal. That's a powerful point for him, but almost 4 items for Vicla on the other side. Beichuan, Flash, Zhonya's, or at least the Seekers, and the Ultimate too. I think Beichuan could also be a big game changer here.
It's all about the entrances. 3 items. Still on the cusp there. Yeah, I think if Vicla gets caught by any of those abilities by Beichuan, the Lilting Lullaby comes out immediately. You start seeing that poke come to fruition here for TT, though.
Yeah, that was a little bit close range for the poke there. You can see huge damage from 1xn. Even feeling like you can jump forwards, knowing that Feather can put up the shield just by him. Stops the Nautilus hook coming through. Really good poke work so far. Need to see if Vicla can get access to another wave. Then the Bloodthirster will invalidate some of that. They're trying to actually push them off of this wave. And that's where the arrow comes in.
It does. You got Beichuan and Xiaohao going at a 1v1 jungle style there. He does end up getting him on the back end of it with the fadeaway triple buster shot, and RA get away like thieves.
Beichuan dies and doesn't even Zhonya's. Xiaohao wins the jungle duel, and that might just open up a Baron opportunity. Never mind the Dragon. TT, great poke work, but can't survive through the fight. Now they have to start scrambling to see if they can stop RA going towards top river.
Assum getting caught out a little bit there. RA caught lacking. Jwei wanted to back. Now he's getting caught himself. True shot barrage going to be dodged out of there, but RA, they do make it out even if it was a bit dicey.
So that's going to open up mid lane out of turret. TT, they lose the jungler, somehow don't lose an objective off the back of it, and they get themselves the tower. I thought that RA, that was going to be a big moment for them. Xiaohao showing how powerful this Diana can be in dueling situations. Can't quite get themselves the big victory after that point. They're probably getting themselves Dragon now that TT are forced to reset, so it will be an objective loss off the back of the extended trade. But it's TT walking away with more than I would have expected, given how well that fight looked like it was going for RA.
We're going to take a look back at it as well, how it all kicked off. That Enchanted Crystal Arrow going right on to Feather.
And, you know, he gets the shield up, so it's not like this part of the fight's a problem. Beichuan kind of greets this, doesn't flash away, gets killed by that last Q, huge damage coming through. And there was a chance that 1xn could have Q flashed to kill out Xiaohao, but the Buster Shot stops that coming through before the Q comes back off cooldown. So good awareness from Vicla, again, continually doing loads of work now on this Tristana. Vicla, this is one of his good games.
I like it. I'm here for it. The Tristana's looking potent as hell. Love to see that RA had a very clear game plan in their draft, and it's been executed very well so far by them. They are in about a 3,000 gold lead, a little bit more than that, but TT starting to get to their item break points. They did get third item for 1xN now as well.
So that Cyrilda is going to come through and add a bit more slowing effect. I believe this is the Cyrilda buff patch, so we get a little extra bit of value coming in for that one. We've typically seen a lot of LPL Ezreals go towards Bloodthirst the third, and then also Shojin, huge item on this champion, but yeah, thinking about it, a little surprised that the Cyrildas is coming through. It doesn't really feel like you need to have that much armor shred. I think that having something like that Shojin or Bloodthirster potentially could have been more valuable. You know what I'll do? I'll just wait until the Ezreal mains tell me, because Ezreal item builds at this point, they are kind of an occult science.
Bring your pitchforks.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like you have to go like go to the Omens or something like that and have their tallying on, because just Ezreal builds. Whenever their item changes, things just
I miss when it was
change.
just blue build. Just build anything that's blue. It's fine.
You know what I don't miss? Well, double tier Ezreal was hilarious because he had the double AP skill,
Oh,
the
it
double
was so
AD AP
hilarious.
skills. Because that was like you chill for about 25 minutes
ridiculous.
and then he's the strongest person in the entire game.
Literally.
Regardless of whether. So disgusting. And then of course Death's Dance Ezreal. That was also feels like
Tank
a crime.
Ezreal.
And then I've got Tank. Oh man, Iceborne Death's Dance Ezreal. Blah, just take it away from me. And then of course there was Runeglaive Ezreal as well, which was one of the most broken champions in the history of League of Legends. This champion, I'm kind of surprised that people kind of forget about the Ezreal builds now, because Kai'Sa kind of exists and was also doing kind of lots of strange and unusual things, but
the Kai'Sa before
Kai'Sa. For years. Absolutely. Anyway, Baron's now off vision. Beichuan's in the area though, so they can't really finish this off. Good awareness from TT to not allow that fog of war to be their demise.
That was literally just Xiaohao and Vicla though. That's the
he misses one.
Yeah, he did miss that one unfortunately, but that was just two members burning the Baron down, and it got so low so quickly. So TT now need to be on the radar of figuring out how they can get some vision over here. It is started up yet again to try to pull TT out. The TP is going to come through. The engage is already there. Jwei is going down, but now that big Moonfall, they've got resets. Vicla's looking for it. Big Hextech ultimatum, and here comes Big Vicla. Is it going to be enough? He goes back to the retreat, but so far so good for RA. 3 bodies in body bags for TT. They're going to try to move forward and stop this Baron. It's a desperation play, but they've got the poke. They don't want to go for it here. Baron secured by RA.
The threat of Xiaohao's flash and Xiaohu going over the wall means that even though 1xN survives and tries he might to put out damage, you just can't survive at that point. 1xN jumping away.
Hoya had to stop his back there just in case he needed to come save him. Vicla finds another explosive charge there, but can't follow it up any further.
Man, I'm just going to say this now. Tristana with Flicker Blades is not a fair champion. Just hits a wave against another jump and another bomb. That is just not fair. Going back to this, see that, Braum, he can now be that first target, and it does have value because the items have been built up. I think Beichuan's had a pretty poor game on the Lilia. Doesn't get himself another big ultimate, even with the flash, even with the ultimate. He's really struggled so far. Whereas on the other side, the backline dive from Rare Ratty is absolutely disgusting, because we do have a late game Camille now. We are reaching the point where, yes, they can reach those primary targets which we talked about. Oh, Assum.
We almost didn't see it.
Might need to rescind that sniper medal for him, as he's missed a couple back-to-back.
It was just a cosplay.
Just for now.
Yeah, it is interesting nonetheless of the entrances there, but I think that fight kind of belied what exactly RA have been doing this entire game. They have had control, it feels like, for a lot of this, and now circling an 8,000 gold lead, taking another turret in mid lane, feels really oppressive to play up against this composition when they can just decide to go in on you.
Yeah, and you know what? Considering how difficult it is to be a carry now in this state in the game, I feel so bad for 1xN. Rare Atom have been really good at pressing forward in the team fights. I think Vicla's had a great game. Xiaohao and Xiaoxu also been on the shortlist for my MVP so far. And I really feel like 1xN, despite all that, has been putting out good damage while remaining safe. It has just been a difficult game to play out.
Oh my god!
He just immediately dies!
He's gone! Literally, Xiaohao just obliterates him! And RA, they made a statement in this game number 1. Welcome to Group Nirvana. as RA will bounce all over TT for this game number 1, and they're going to clean house and take a 1-0 lead in this best of 3. Hoya's best advances are all that's left for TT, and RA come out swinging.
I think Xiaohao took offense to us saying that what I said was staying safe against this combo. Immediately, 100-0. The Diana, not a pick we've seen that much from, but I think Xiaohao really justifying that pick for the composition. Clean team fights from Rare Assum. Love the way that this played. They played the way through that win condition, and you look on the side of TT, they just couldn't stay safe. They couldn't keep their carries in damaging positions. RA ran away with the team fights.
That's what's so insane is like we set up the expectations for this. There was a lot of like that team fight potential for the side of TT. Some ways scaling, trying to get there. They got to that point, but by then the go buttons were just so easy that it was just like a big red button standing on the console that you could just smash and,
Press the launch
all of a
button.
sudden confetti comes out and there's a bunch of dead bodies on the other side, I feel like. So it's really interesting how RA were able to execute this one. Again, it is not fearless. So we have to look at what the bans are going to look like in Game 2 for TT. We'll be back after a short little break with that game.